Can you last 29 minutes against Jared Leto for $1 million?
Greetings, programs, and welcome to Tech Tales. I'm Corbin Davenport,
I'm Joe Fedua.
And I'm Zachary Wander.
and today we are back. We've returned to watch the most recent and possibly last Tron film, Tron Ares. If you have not watched this movie yet and you want to watch it, there will, as always, be a link in the show notes to where you can watch it legally. I think at the moment it's just streaming on Disney Plus, but you can still buy it from all the usual places you can buy movies.
You probably shouldn't buy it, though.
No, because then Jared Leto gets money. So before we get to the movie itself, I want to quickly talk about how we got here. So the first Tron film was released in 1982, and it was not super successful, but it did eventually become a cult classic, and enough time passed, and finally we got a sequel in 2010 as Tron Legacy. And Tron Legacy was also not successful enough to immediately start production on a sequel. In 2011, there was a script in development that followed Sam Flynn and Cora, which were two characters from Legacy, after the events of that movie. At one point, that was called Tron Ascension. And that movie was supposed to start filming in the fall of 2015. And at least Garrett Hedlund, who was Sam Flynn, had confirmed he was returning for that. And Jared Leto was also going to have some kind of role, but not the star role. And sometime around May 2015, Disney fully canceled production on that, reportedly because the Tomorrowland movie had come out recently, and that lost a lot of money. And that's also not a good movie.
Never seen it.
And because that movie was a flop, Disney was worried about other sci-fi movies potentially also flopping. A little bit later in 2017, the project restarted with Jared Leto now as the main star, and that's what went on to become Tron Ares. Also, Joachim Rumming signed on as director, who had previously directed Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man Tell No Tales in 2017, and the Maleficent sequel in 2019, which did not instill me with confidence.
No.
Actually, I think I might have seen the Pirates movie, and I just don't remember it at all.
Yeah, I stopped watching Pirates movies after a while. It's never good when I feel like a director has only ever done sequels.
Big IP sequels,
Yeah.
yeah. The other big announcement was Nine Inch Nails signing on to compose the music for Tron Ares, because Daft Punk did the music for Tron Legacy, and they had already disbanded at this point, so we needed new people. And Nine Inch Nails was heavily promoted in the film's advertising. I believe Disney specifically had asked them to use the Nine Inch Nails name instead of their names.
Yeah, because Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails, correct?
Yeah, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Yeah. And for the movie Challengers, that was Trent Reznor soundtrack, not Nine Inch Nails. So it was a little different.
Yeah, both of them have done a lot of movie soundtracks and shows, but not specifically as Nine Inch Nails, just using their real names. So both of them did the music for The Social Network, Watchmen, Pixar's Soul, Challengers, and a few others. I do like the Challenger soundtrack, so that announcement, I was like, okay, that's probably going to be fine. They also made two vocal songs for the movie, which were As Alive as You Need Me to Be and Who Wants to Live Forever. One other strange thing from the production is that, according to the Wall Street Journal, there were plans at one point to have a character modeled with generative AI as a sidekick to Jeff Bridges' character. This was scrapped because, quote, executives internally were told that the company couldn't risk the bad publicity.
But Jared Leto's fine.
Yeah, Jared Leto is generative AI.
Yeah, are we sure he's not? They're trying to get away with it, but we caught him. That is interesting, though. I'm wondering, was that going to be part of the plot? Because like there is a tiny bit of AI stuff in the movie. Was that going to be part of it? Is like, this is the AI program?
I don't know. There weren't any other details, but I wonder if maybe that's where they decided to slide in the bit character from the original Tron movie. We'll get to that later, but that comes up. I'm not sure what they were gonna do there. So finally, Tron Ares was released on October 6th of 2025, almost exactly 15 years after Tron Legacy. And full disclosure, I did not see this in theaters. I am very biased against this movie. I I was so there were so few things that Disney could have done to stop me from seeing this like 3 times in theaters in IMAX or 3D or something. Like I would have done it. Jared Leto was one of those things.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I supposedly there are some movies where he's okay. I've not seen those movies. I have seen Morbius. I have seen oh, what was the other?
I can't even think of a Jared Leto movie that I've seen. I guess Suicide Squad. That's one I've seen.
Yeah, those are the 2 I've seen, and he is horrendous in Suicide Squad as well. So I'm super biased against him. Again, like even outside of acting, he's just kind of a general creep. So I don't like anything having to do with him. So my expectations going into this were pretty low for that reason, and I might have some complaints that others don't for that reason. So that's my disclosure, is I'm very mad about how this turned out.
Well, it's such a like change, like a huge change to go from Garrett Hedlund, which I think like he's not a huge movie star. I don't think I've seen him really in any other movies other than Tron Legacy, but like he's very likable, and people just have very much opinions about Jared Leto. So why do we gotta go from Garrett Hedlund to Jared Leto? I don't get it.
I didn't write this down, but supposedly Jared Leto did a lot to push the project along. So it's very possible that this movie wouldn't have happened, or like it would have got canceled again and then happened in 10 more years without him. But the end result was not worth it, clearly. Okay, so now time to get to the movie itself. Yay. The movie starts and there's this immediate rapid fire lore dump.
And also, I just want to say, the movie starts, you see the Disney logo with the like same sort of like effect as Tron Legacy starts with, and immediately my mind is like expecting the Daft Punk to kick in, and it doesn't, and I'm like, I'm already disappointed.
This didn't have Jeff Bridges saying the grid. I'm
exactly.
So in this rapid fire lore dump, we learn that Sam Flynn, who is Kevin Flynn's son in Tron Legacy, resigned from NCOM for unspecified personal reasons. And after he leaves, there are 2 sisters that take control of the company as co-CEOs, who are Tess Kim and Eve Kim. And at the same time, there is a rival to NCOM called Dillinger Systems, led by this guy named Julian Dillinger, who is the grandson of Edward Dillinger from the original Tron film. And then there's like a little mention about Dillinger setting itself up as a military AI company.
So do we think that Cillian Murphy Dillinger from Legacy is like this guy's like uncle or something?
That's what I was wondering where he was, because they don't bring him up at all. But in Tron Legacy, in the like 2 minutes we see him, he is a like higher up software engineer at NCOM. So
but his last name is Dillinger, right?
Yeah. It's Edward Dillinger Jr. is his name.
Okay.
Not sure what happened to him. I think this is the first time in the Tron timeline where it's established that Dillinger has a like a competing company, or the Dillinger family does.
Mm-hmm.
After the lore dump, we are introduced to Ares, who is a master control program created by Dillinger Systems, and he has a triangular identity disk. The name Master Control Program being reused from the first Tron movie. That was the big spinning face thing
Yeah.
that was controlling the grid in the
We
first
could have had
film.
that instead of Jared Leto.
Yeah, it would have been better. It would have been better. And of course, Ares is played by Jared Leto, star of the critically acclaimed film Morbius. So get your it's Troning time jokes out.
No,
Why not?
I don't want to.
This film did not make $1 more billion in theaters, by the way.
Did this film come back to theaters a second time? Don't think so.
No. Disney, please bring back Tron Ares. We were all busy that weekend. And then in the scene where Ares is sort of getting set up or like training with a bunch of combat programs, we see him talking to Dillinger on the outside, and Dillinger is using one of the big touchscreen tables. So the touchscreen tables are back.
Very practical.
Love a touchscreen table.
Yeah. Also, this movie, like Tron Legacy, you see bits and pieces of the software, and once again, it is like reasonably accurate Unix commands. So that's nice. We got that going. And then later on, when they show some of the older computers, there's like a basic program. And then we are also introduced to Athena, who is the program acting as Ares' second in command in Dillinger's grid. There's multiple grids in this movie, multiple computer worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first one we see is the one that Dillinger Systems is running. Athena is played by Jodie Turner-Smith, who was also in the Star Wars series The Acolyte.
Oh, that's where I recognize her from. Okay.
I had not seen her in anything before this, but I thought she was pretty good in this movie.
I did like the like sort of like bug fixing scene of Ares where he's like doing all these battles and getting derezzed, and then you're like shows him like doing an update, and then like another version goes out, and I thought that part was kind of cool.
Yeah, like they're setting it up also of Ares being a very expendable tool and just constantly dying and coming back to life, and that's important for what happens later.
Yeah, I don't feel like they did a good job establishing that, because they were like, you're 100% expendable like 10 times in the first 2 minutes, but when he dies in quotes in cyberspace, he just comes back with all of his memories that he had up to that point.
Right. Yeah, they all do.
So it's not like he's expendable, it's more like he's invincible.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Why is he so offended about being in he's still the same being essentially.
Yeah.
I think they definitely were trying to set it up as like he's living a tortured life. He's has to just die over and over and over again, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. But I don't think they sold that enough, because Jared Leto is not acting. he's spending this entire movie like very stoic and unmoving. So I don't really get the impression that he's all that bothered by this process.
They should have made it like, instead of being the thing that is like, oh, I'm replaceable or whatever, it should have been more like, oh, I'm destined to just be killed over and over and over again for the rest of time. Like that should have been the thing that he didn't like.
Yeah. This movie did make me think a lot about Westworld, because I think Westworld, at least the first season, used a lot of these same ideas and did it a lot better. And that was one of them, of the robots at the park just stuck in this loop of dying over and over again. Then the movie switches to Eve Kim, who is now the only CEO of Incom. And she's traveling to a remote research station with her partner, Seth Flores. Eve is played by Greta Lee, who I had also not seen in anything before this, but she had main roles in the Netflix series Russian Doll and The Morning Show on Apple TV Plus. Again, I thought she was fine in this movie. No complaints there. And then Seth is played by Arturo Castro, who is, I think, the closest to like a comic relief goofball guy. And I was not a fan.
I don't think I had even like two thoughts about this character. He was pretty forgettable.
And then the station where they're going is where Eve's sister Tess was working at one point to continue Kevin Flynn's research. So they get there and there's a bunch of, in Alaska. They get there and there's a bunch of old computers, all of Kevin Flynn's old files.
How did all this get to Alaska? We don't know.
They said she was there off grid a lot. So I think the idea was that it was supposed to be like an isolated place, but it could have been Utah.
And as you know, the only way to get off the grid is to just be really far away from the internet. That's how it works.
Yeah, and then they completely negate their off-grid excuse by showing a satellite camera zooming in on a permanent materialized tree later on.
So then the movie cuts to Dillinger doing a presentation to investors at his company's laboratory. And the movie comes back to this laboratory quite a bit. And he's showing off kind of the main difference between this movie and the previous Tron movies, which is that it's very easy to take objects from the grid and move them into real life. He's moving Ares and a tank from the grid into real life, and it looks like all these like lasers are 3D printing them.
Yeah, it's the craziest 3D printer you've ever seen.
They definitely made it like a 3D printer where it's also printing all of these supports that then like fall away when they start moving. That was neat.
But where is this material coming from? We don't know.
Don't worry about it.
The grid.
It's grid juice. So this is the first time we get a good look at Julian Dillinger, who is played by Evan Peters, who I liked him in all the X-Men movies. He was Quicksilver. He's sort of this like unhinged CEO guy.
For some reason.
Yeah, we don't, all the CEOs are pretty normal. I don't know what the deal is.
It doesn't make sense. Like, we haven't mentioned his mom yet, but like, it doesn't make sense why he's the CEO and she's not the CEO. I don't know. It really is.
It doesn't make sense to me why he's so insane. Because his mom is so fairy tale good person CEO.
Yeah, the movie sets up this relationship where Dillinger is the company is run by the youngest Dillinger, Julian, Evan Peters, but his mother, who is Edward Dillinger's daughter, is still on the board and talks to them a lot and basically tries to like tone him down constantly. When they do this presentation, it all looks very impressive, and like Ares walks up to people and talks to them. And then after everyone leaves, Ares and the tank slowly disintegrate. And this is when we find out that nothing created from the grid lasts more than 29 minutes because they're missing something called the permanence code. And Dillinger's mom is talking to him like, you gotta find the permanence code because you just lied to all those people that we have a, technology that can make them can 3D print a bunch of soldiers for them. You need to find this out real quick.
And this is one of the biggest, I think, not really a loophole, a plot hole, but like in reality, if you're showing something like this off to the military, the 29-minute thing is a feature, not a bug. Because you can send all this stuff out into battle, whatever, and it will just self-destruct itself and completely disappear after 29 minutes, and you don't have to worry about like the enemy getting anything from you. Like, I don't think that would actually be like a bad thing. I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, impermanence would be useful for them, but I think 29 minutes would be too short. You'd have to have this giant laser printer like 1,000 feet away from your target so that you could get there in time to actually do things. I don't know if it was meant as foreshadowing, but there are giant countdown timers on the machine that start as soon as something's finished being printed. And like they're very visible.
All the people there didn't notice.
No one asked about them.
Hey, what's that clock over there? Oh, that's just the time in China right now.
That's my pizza in the oven. It's almost done.
And the clocks even have the name of like the thing too.
Yeah.
It's like Aries, 29 minutes. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean the movie later on establishes the problem with the countdown clock of like constantly characters getting away from the programs because eventually they can just outrun them. But I do agree for kind of the military stuff they were pitching that wouldn't matter because you could just have the 3D printer on the aircraft carrier or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That one wouldn't be an issue. It is an issue for the other use cases they talk about of like printing out like plants and food and stuff.
Yeah, food.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I did not see him in this scene when I was watching it, but Gary V is in the audience here for this presentation.
He is, yeah.
Which is
still relevant today, apparently.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun thing.
The scammer?
Yeah, the grind mindset business
hustle culture
influencer guy. Yeah.
He would be at something like this.
Yeah, Logan Paul would be there too.
Mr. Beast.
Oh, Mr. Beast would order so many of these printers.
Yeah. Can you last 29 minutes against Jared Leto for $1 million?
No, I can't. He's just in a room with normal Jared Leto.
He's just sitting there.
That was something that was interesting, I guess. De-resing in the first two Tron movies was being erased digitally. De-resing in this movie has moved to being taken out of the real world.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there is a difference between getting, but no, they do get de-resed in the digital world and come back also, don't they? It's not just in the real world.
But they call that deletion.
Yeah. So in this first few minutes with the Ares testing and then the demonstration, we get a lot of the music for this movie. So what did y'all think of the music?
The beginning music was very repetitive. It was like 5 sawtooth notes and it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the music. The issue that I had with the music was it wasn't very like soundtracky, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't. There was a lot of times where I didn't feel like it fit with what was happening on screen. Like, there'd be like, there's like a big chase scene at one point in the movie, and there's just like this song playing that is really cool sounding, but it's not like ramping up with the tension of the scene, or like how in the like Tron Legacy, like orchestra type music at points that really like fits really well with the action that's happening. And this was just kind of like, oh, it's a Nine Inch Nails song that sounds cool on top of a movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The biggest style difference here is Daft Punk's score for Tron Legacy was that mix of orchestral music and electronic music. And the first Tron movie also did that. But Nine Inch Nails score is almost entirely industrial rock. There's like no standard orchestra stuff here at all. And I did put in my notes that it feels like the music repeats a lot more than with Tron Legacy.
For sure.
There's a lot fewer distinct motifs, I guess, because there's like 3 main music themes that they switch between for most of the movie. Oh yeah, on the note about the demonstration scene and the talk that Dillinger and his mom have afterwards, Ed Dillinger's mom is played by Gillian Anderson, who is probably best known as Dana Scully in The X-Files.
And she's pretty good. There was actually something I noted down, how there was a line that she said, like, are you, are you sure you want to do this, risk everything we have built for the past 40 years? And you can see her, like, definitely about to be saying everything I have built, and I don't think that was a director's note.
Yeah, I mean she was very good. I don't really have any notes about her because she's also only in a few scenes. We don't see her very often.
Yeah.
And then the movie goes back to the remote research Alaska outpost where Eve finds the permanence code on one of Kevin Flynn's floppy disks, and they test it out. They get the big laser 3D printer thing outside, and they print out an orange tree.
In Alaska.
Yeah, to see if it lasts more than 29 minutes. And I'm guessing this is a reference to the first thing we see being digitized in the first Tron movie, which is an orange. They put an orange in front of the laser and suck it into the computer and then put it back. They stand there, and eventually, after the 29 minutes, the tree is still there. So they know that the code works, and they're all excited about it.
And the permanence code is not even like I don't think I realized this at first. I kind of realized it later in the movie, but it's not even just about like lasting more than 29 minutes. Like Zach said, they're in Alaska. This tree is perfectly fine, like for hours and hours and days in Alaska.
Right. This machine is more just the food replicator from Star Trek. Like you just solved world hunger with this thing, potentially.
Exactly.
So then the movie cuts back to Encom, which is doing a launch event for its new Space Paranoids game. And at the same time, Dillinger is at his office trying to hack into Encom's systems.
This space paranoid event I thought was so cringy. My God.
It was like an E3 show in terms of like the intended mood. And on stage doing this is Encom's chief technology officer, AJ Singh, and he is played by Hassan Minaj, who I'd also not seen in anything before this, but I know he was on like The Daily Show, and he had a he had a series on Netflix for a while. While this event is going on, Dillinger is hacking into the systems because he wants to find Eve, because he thinks Eve found the permanence code. And he's sending his like hacking infiltration security programs into Encom servers. So it's cutting back and forth between him like doing the computer hacking stuff on his big glass table and the programs in the grid breaking into Encom systems.
Yeah, I wrote down here that it kind of felt like at that point we were taking the anthropomorphic metaphor a bit too far.
It's kind of like a throwback to the
kind
first.
Of breaking down there.
It's like a throwback to the very first Tron movie, I feel like, where they're like they're personifying what's happening in your computer.
Right. The having the people there as programs isn't the part that's strange to me. It's that that like what they're trying to break into is this big empty area, and they're using like a virtual laser to break through a virtual wall.
How's a firewall, Zach? Now you know what they look like.
It felt like it was getting a little tortured.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that first scene in the first Tron movie where I think it's Kevin Flynn trying to break into Encom systems, and it cuts between him at his computer typing commands, and I think it was Clue who was like in the grid, like on the little tank trying to break in. That probably was an attempt to do that again, because I wrote down later in my notes that this movie has a lot of fan service to the first Tron movie specifically, and not so much Tron Legacy. There's a little bit of Legacy near the end,
Yeah.
but almost everything is from the first movie, like even to the point of it feeling forced. Like obviously you're going to have NCOM in the grid and programs and everything, and that makes sense in the story, but then you have like there's one bit I wrote down where I think Dillinger is on the phone with the NCOM CEO and he's like yelling, and he ends the call by yelling "end of line."
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with the first Tron movie, maybe, because like I didn't think there was like I noticed several callbacks, but I didn't think there was a ton of them in it. So maybe I just didn't notice all of them.
Well, there was that, and then when Eve and her partner are on the plane coming back, and his phone rings. It's one of the songs from the first Tron movie.
I did not catch that.
I saw in the motorcycle chase later with Eve and Ares and Athena, when she crashes off the light cycle, they show on the recycling bin, it says Dumont Recycling, which is Dumont from the first movie, but also in Tron Legacy they showed Dumont as like a company logo somewhere in that.
Yeah, it's where Sam lives.
So I'm not sure if that's like half credit for both, I guess. But like I thought it was weird that they were forcing a lot of that in, and then to the point of sort of forcing that in, but like we never hear what happens to Edward Dillinger Jr. Clue's never brought up. Tron's never brought up, or Alan Bradley. So this is officially a Tron movie without Tron, just at all. Not mentioned at all. So I don't know. I thought that was a weird decision. And I saw like one interview from the director talking about how much he loved the first Tron movie. So maybe that was where he was more interested in pulling from versus Legacy. So this game launch event is happening and Dillinger is hacking, and we get our look at another one of the computer worlds, another grid, which is the modern NCOM server farm grid. And this one is the first time we get a computer grid that's like daytime. It's not dark, moody, thunder clouds, super dark. It's like kind of just overcast weather. Everything's pretty bright. But it's like this one large city on a hill with levels and like a tower on top shooting lasers outwards. And I wrote down it kind of reminded me of the city of Gondor, or the city in Gondor. I think the city has a different name in the Lord of the Rings movies. And like Dillinger's programs are scaling up like the outside of it and breaking in, like Zach said. And they're trying to look for Eve's personal files because they'll tell them where she is right now. Because in the movie, she's been like missing for a while at this research station, and no one quite knows where she is.
And for some reason, we find out later that all of her texts are in NCOM's servers for some reason.
Well, if they're on like the company phone, then that makes sense, I guess. And then there's like a like a anime battle fight scene where Ares and Dillinger's other security programs are fighting this big crowd of security programs in the NCOM grid. And this was like the worst looking part of the movie, I think, because they're in this like daytime grid where there's not really shadows or cool lighting or anything. It just kind of looks like a video game cutscene.
There's also the part before the battle happens where he kind of I guess he doesn't really fall in love with her, but like it kind of seems like he's falls in love with the Eve person because he's like watching all these interviews of her and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be him getting stuck on the concept of humanity.
Yeah, it was weird. He's like just watching all these videos of her like from like Instagram and stuff.
Also, it was for exposition to tell you that her sister died.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Although it was a realistic portrayal of how creepy Jared Leto is.
Staring, just staring, acting.
There's another scene in here where they're trying to quickly ramp up that Ares is questioning who he is and whether or not he's like doing a good thing or not. And that's reinforced by the scene where after this battle, one of the programs, one of Dillinger's programs, so Ares' like little military group, gets his leg partially blown off, and Ares is trying to like bring him to safety, or like, you know, bring him back to the grid. And then Dillinger sends some kind of bomb thing to the Encom server. I'm not really clear what's happening here. And
Yeah,
everyone dies. It looked like in the movie that just everyone dies and then they would be, you know, rebuilt in Dillinger's grid. But I guess the program that got their leg blown off didn't get rematerialized. I'm not
because he was malfunctioning, but that didn't make sense. Like, why does cutting off a limb make the program malfunctioning, but fully killing them with the same weapon just respawns them?
I think the implication was like, oh, that program's not good enough. It got injured in battle, so
maybe
it can just, you know, f that program.
And that hack, the erase bomb, completely shuts down the entire Encom computer network for some reason, including the giant screen at the presentation.
Yeah.
The entire company is the one computer. So after that whole game launch hacking scene, Eve and Seth get back from the research station. They get off their airplane, and Dillinger materializes Ares and Athena in the Dillinger laboratory and tells them to go get Eve. So they print out little light cycles and they start driving over there. And Seth leaves in his own car, and Eve is on a motorcycle and just kind of driving on the, I guess it's like a highway downtown to the Encom building. And she
has a little hard drive enclosure that has the permanence code on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be in an email. It has to be on the drive.
Well, she's air gapping it.
Yeah.
And it's important for the plot that she's air gapping it.
So she's on a motorcycle, and then Ares and Athena eventually catch up to her on their light cycles, and they briefly turn on the like light trail and start slicing cars in half.
For some reason.
Yeah. Although the first car they sliced in half was a cop car, so
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was cool, but I don't get why it happened. Like, the cops were going after Eve. It would have been helpful to have them there to force her to stop, maybe.
I don't think that the programs are like know enough to that was happening.
Well,
they can look things up, though. That was something I had in my notes where it was weird. Like, after Ares came back from his first demonstration in the real world, he was like, it was raining. I could almost feel it. And also, he knew to predict the rain in the first place. And then Athena was like, feel? I don't understand. And then when Ares is hacking into Encom, he's obviously looking up info because it shows him like reading a quote and finding it in the book of Frankenstein.
Yeah, she was reading Frankenstein in like an Instagram post, and he like
so they can obviously look things up. So I don't understand why Athena didn't look up what feel means, and why, if they can look things up, they're so inconsistent with what they know and not.
I think all of the programs were set up as like, I'm going to go back to Star Trek here. They were set up like Data from The Next Generation, where like they're very book smart, but they don't understand humanity as a concept or like what it means to be alive. or whatever. And they try to do that, but again, there's not enough time in the movie to really set that up properly. And again, Jared Leto cannot act, which is not helping. Even after he, supposedly becomes a real person, he's still acting not like one.
Well, he's very good at not having emotions.
Yeah.
Which makes him perfect program. Except not somehow. But this scene was one of my first like big annoyances with this movie, because the light cycles are awesome, obviously. And Eve eventually gets into a light cycle, and I understood why the programs had the light trails on, just like driving around the city, because like, okay, they're just programs, like they don't really care about people, whatever. But like Eve is also driving around with her light trail on the whole time. I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? You're just driving around with a trail of death behind you, and it was really weird.
Well, she didn't know how the light cycle worked, right? Like,
yeah,
she turned it on.
She turned the light cycle on by pressing a bunch of buttons.
But then she also figured out how to turn the light trail on.
Yeah, maybe she didn't even know she did that because the director said it must be done in post. But I was something in the first chase scene that was weird to me was how I think they were trying to show how Ares was struggling between like following his prime directive and starting to feel things and have empathy and whatnot. But it was so back and forth of like, does he care about hurting other people or not? Because, it starts out with him cutting the police car in half. Then there's a point where he magically stops from 300 miles per hour to 0 to not hit a baby in a car that's in the way.
Yeah.
Until it pulls out of the way. And then right after that, they're back to making cars ramp up off the light trails and flip over and crash through. And it pick a side.
I think the thing I was starting to think at this point is this is the only Tron movie where most of the movie takes place outside of the grid. Because you have the programs coming into real life, and then even in the other bits where you just have normal real life stuff going on. And it makes the entire movie not super impressive to look at, except for a few parts. Tron Legacy, the entire time they're in the grid, it looks cool. They do a lot of different architectures, a lot of different environments, a lot of cool stuff with accent lighting and how the programs look and how the world looks. But here you just have the programs and then random city. I think it might be Vancouver. I'm not sure where they filmed this. Like, it's not cool. It's not cool enough.
Just like the point of the movie is that we're switching things up. We're not going into the grid. We're taking the grid out into the real world. So it makes sense that
right. I do understand that too. World. I thought that part was fine. Like a story being okay. Now what happens if they go to the real world? Like I think that's probably a good idea for a third movie. Just wasn't necessarily the best implementation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think there's a version of this that could have worked again without Jared Leto.
The red light cycles are cool though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the light cycle redesign. I still do like the very rounded off design from Tron Legacy. But this is also cool. They did a good job with that. So there's that whole chase scene, and there's a bit where Eve drives into a parking deck and sort of like corners Athena, knocks her out briefly, and then steals Athena's light cycle, and that's where
knocks her out doesn't really describe it. She tries to murder Athena.
Yeah.
She uses her motorcycle to knock Athena off the spiral ramp of the parking garage down like 6 stories. For all we know, not knowing that she's a program.
Pretty sweet move, to be honest.
But she looks down at what she thinks is a dead body, and she's like, "Oh, thank God."
a minute later, like Athena gets back up and she starts jogging up the spiral, and it's exactly like the T-1000 in Terminator 2, like running towards the car that's driving.
Yeah. I did I did think that was pretty funny. Just like like very like slowly but consistently working your way up the, the thing.
Yeah, I don't think that was meant to be silly, but it was kind of silly.
The chase continues again, and they eventually get to this like river dock area where Eve breaks the drive containing the permanence code and chucks it in the water. And that's
And Ares catches up to her and's like, give us the code. And she says, well, I don't have it.
yeah.
Haha.
When Dillinger sent Ares and Athena out, he was like, bring her to me, to them. But then at this point, they must have realized that you can't really do that on two motorcycles. So they made it so a guy in a helicopter comes with a laser behind her.
Yeah, they haven't condensed those down to handguns yet.
Yeah, Ares and Athena catch up to them, but that's just when their timer expires and Eve thinks she's in the clear, but there's a guy in a helicopter that Dillinger sends with the big digitizer gun. He shoots the laser at Eve, and it digitizes her into the Dillinger company grid.
And she was showing an empathetic response for Ares.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was gonna mention something about that where so the first time Ares de-resed by this movie's definition in the after the board presentation, he was standing there and then he screamed and disintegrated. Every other time after that, when a program is about to expire, they're in like weak, flickery, painful, half alive state, starting like a minute or 30 seconds before they disappear. And that just didn't happen the first time for some reason. But yeah, they laser Eve into the grid, and for some reason Eve doesn't know that's possible, even though that's what happened in the last two movies that seem to exist in this universe.
Well, I'm guessing no one knew that was what happened because it was really only like one person that went in. So if Sam didn't, tell anyone, how would anyone know?
That is actually something, again, that I noticed just a little bit later when Ares mentions that Flynn disappeared in 1989 and doesn't mention him reappearing. Did he?
He doesn't reappear.
He just stays disappeared in the universe. Like no one.
Yeah, he at the end of
technically
Legacy.
No one knows where he is.
At the end of Legacy, I think it's basically implied that he's like dead, like he's killed by the thing that he takes Clue out with, like
the reintegration.
He absorbs Clue, yeah, and it kills him. So in the real world, he disappears and just never comes back.
Okay, so that is consistent then. If Ares's Google knowledge is that Flynn disappeared in 1989, then Sam probably didn't talk about going into the grid.
Yeah, which in theory, Sam and Cora could have told the world what happened, but they set it up later that they've just been gone this whole time. Or it seems like Sam never told anyone. I don't know. So, okay. So Eve is now on Dillinger's grid. This is the second computer world that we see. We saw it a little bit at the start when they were showing off Ares dying repeatedly, but this is our first like real look at it. And this is a lot closer to the dark and stormy atmosphere of the grid in Tron and Tron Legacy, but everything is red. Everything has the red accent lighting, so it's the bad guys' world.
Yeah.
And that becomes important later.
Yes. It's funny that in Legacy, it's like orange is the bad guys, and now they're like, we gotta go darker. Red.
Yeah. And I guess a little bit of a disappointment is I like the idea of there being the different grids that all look different. That's a fun idea. But we only see little snippets of each of these, or they're just very small worlds compared to like the world in Tron Legacy. It feels like an actual like city,
Yeah.
with different subdivisions, and like you've got the big enemy bases and the ships, and then like sort of the normal population, and we only see little snippets of each of these individual grids.
I do get the feeling, like we were talking about earlier, that they very much were like in the back of their heads were like, we've already done the grid a lot. We're not spending much time in the grid in this movie. People have already seen it. It's been done. We got to get in and get out.
So Eve is now like a captured prisoner, and Dillinger believes he can extract the permanence code from Eve's memory. And Ares warns him that that could probably kill her. And Dillinger tells him to do it anyway. And this is the moment where Ares finally has had enough, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that, because like with the previous setup of him feeling empathetic towards Eve in some respect. So then Dillinger commands Athena to kill Ares and take back Eve, but Ares and Eve escape. They like fall through the floor and then materialize in a speedboat type thing. So we've got a new Tron vehicle, which is good.
Yeah, I did like the vehicles.
And there's like a conversation that happens while they're escaping where Ares makes it clear that he wants the permanence code for him specifically, and not to give to Dillinger or, like, in theory, the other programs, just him. And I will say this part where they're talking on the speedboat type thing through this waterway that's kind of like industrial factory port type of environment, with these like flying drones chasing them, is the coolest looking part of the movie.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty stupid, because he's leaving this huge water plume trail behind him that's clearly visible from the central tower, and Athena's like, where are they? Send out the drones. No sign of them.
I do feel like they're being chased most of the time, though. Like, they do seem to
They
know
do
where
find them, but like they're so obvious the whole time. And they show them being obvious.
One question I have, maybe Corbin, you have the answer to this. Those little sticks that become light cycles and gliders and speedboats and whatever, can those become like any vehicle? Or is it just like, oh, so convenient that Athena had the speedboat stick on her that Ares took? Like, what's the deal with those?
I think they can become anything.
Yeah, I don't remember if,
because he transforms the vehicle into a submarine at one point.
There could have been another stick.
It was the same vehicle.
Okay.
I don't remember it becoming a submarine, honestly.
It was when the drones put up light trails right in front of them, so they had to go underwater.
Yeah, they had to dive.
So they probably can just become anything.
Yeah.
The only rule I remember for the sticks is that if the vehicle is destroyed, then I believe you lose the stick. So like there's a like in that light cycle fight in Tron Legacy, where one of the programs gets their I don't remember if it's one of the programs or Sam gets his light cycle derez, but because he has another stick, he can generate a new one. But I don't remember if they can change.
I just watched the scene again, and it doesn't transform into a submarine. There's these two like things on the side of it that slide up to like protect them while they're underwater, and then they slide back down when they're out of the water.
Okay. Can we get a fact check on the sticks, please?
Real-time fact check.
This has been fact checked by Tron Patriots. After this chase scene, they finally get to the portal at the end of the Dillinger grid, and they materialize in the Dillinger laboratory. So we're back where like the demonstration started and all that other stuff. And there's another chase where Ares and Eve are driving towards Incom in like a truck they stole. And
this is where it's established that the computer that was in Alaska, that where she found the permanence code, was actually a backup of a computer that exists as a museum piece in the NCOM headquarters.
Yes.
So it was there the whole time, and she just didn't look for it there for some reason.
Yep. I said the exact same thing when that part happened. I'm like, why the F were they in freaking Alaska when it was just right there?
They try to explain a little bit that I guess they couldn't find it in the computer and only Ares could find it when it was in that location. But like they had 30 years or however long it's been.
It's also a backup. It's the same. It's a mirror. It's the same thing.
You should be able to find it in 30 years on the computer.
My thought of sending Ares into the museum piece computer to get the code, I thought they did that just because he was about to expire and they didn't want him to be teleported back to Dillinger, because then he'd be deleted.
I think it was both.
And like it was easier for him to find it, but I don't think he was needed to find it necessarily.
Maybe. I don't know. The stated purpose was definitely both.
And yeah, they get to the computer and they start working on setting up the laser to put Ares into the computer, and then that's when Athena shows up in a big flying thing.
Yeah, she's in the like kind of a light jet from Tron Legacy, but it's more like a mech armor that can like hover in place.
And she's hovering at the window waiting for Ares to derez so she can go in. For some reason, Ares decides to be heroic at that point, just kind of out of nowhere, and he starts charging at Athena, I guess to try to like knock her out of the sky or something before he derezes, but they laser him into the computer before that can happen anyway, and then it's just never mentioned again. It didn't matter.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I don't know what the intention there was. It wasn't really a selfless act because he was about to die. So again, like she was clearly waiting there for him to die and then go in and take Eve. So it wouldn't have mattered.
And not going into the old grid didn't, like, if he would have been killed right there or derez before, like that wouldn't help them either, because now it's like, okay, well now who goes in?
Yeah, also, even if he did knock Athena out of the sky, Dillinger would just reprint her. So it was just a very strange action. It was out of character, what little character he has.
When they get to Flynn's old workstation in the museum exhibit thing in the Incom building, I thought it was weird that the computer that she's using to like open the grid or look through Flynn's files or whatever at Flynn's desk is an Apple III. And that was a computer that Apple released in 1980, and it was like one of the worst computers Apple made because it had a lot of manufacturing defects, like it was constantly overheating and killing itself.
Is that not like this is a different computer than he used in the first movie? Like, did he not use an Apple III in the first movie?
I don't think there was an Apple III in any of the movies, but like it would make sense to me that he would be using a lot of different computers at his various workstations, and that was just one of them, or like one of the ones before he disappeared. So it being a different computer isn't weird to me. What was weird to me is that this was a bad computer, and I feel like Flynn would have like the good computers. He'd have the Apple II GS, or he'd have like the tricked out IBM PC or something.
He would also be an early adopter, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'd be on the whatever the latest model is, even if it was terrible,
Maybe.
because that's what tech enthusiasts do. That's what we do.
I guess I could see that. I just thought that was weird. Of like, usually when movies also they get an old computer, they'll pick one that's like more recognizable. Like there'll be a Commodore 64 or an Apple II or something.
Representation.
I will also say, in this bit where they're trying to get into Flynn's old workstation grid and Athena is chasing them, there's a bit where Ares finally gets in. So then it's just Athena and Eve and her partner, who is immediately knocked out. Athena destroys the digitizer laser that they had just used, so Ares can't come back that way. And there's a bit where, like, Eve is like injured and trying to push herself along the floor to get away. Again, a little like a Terminator callback a little bit. And the fire sprinklers turn on, and that's enough for Athena to get distracted looking at the water, because it's like briefly explained earlier that Ares and Athena are like interested in how water works because it's not on the grid.
Well, it's a callback to Ares almost feeling the rain
Yeah.
and a moment of humanity or whatever, and Athena's like, "Oh, what is this?"
You
And it
just said,
distracts her long enough. It was kind of weird because you'd think that would be like a turning point for the character, but it was just a distraction.
I mean, the thing though, Corbin, you just said there's not water on the grid.
There is.
Did we not have a scene in the water on the grid?
That's true. I guess there's not rain, but I think there was rain in the Tron Legacy grid, but I don't know if we saw it in any of the ones in this movie.
I think it must just be that it's the tortured metaphor again. They're taking it a bit too far. The water in the grid represents something else, but it's just water.
Yeah, and this point where Athena gets briefly distracted and then dies kind of made me frustrated with how this movie handles every single confrontation. Is there's not
It's
really
always a deus ex machina.
Yeah, it's always almost gotcha, but my timer ran out, or you just barely escaped on the light cycle, or you just narrowly avoided the drones on the Dillinger grid and you got into the transporter zone thing. And that was really frustrating because it happened like every single time. There was like something about to happen.
A series of unfortunate derez.
Yeah. So that bit's over, and we are shown Ares in the third and final computer world, which is Flynn's personal grid from sometime in the 1980s. It's not clear.
And I actually like what they did here because they adjusted the color grading and added flickering to match like how the first Tron looked.
Yeah. He's
In the
like,
grid.
his skin is gray.
And his suit is kind of flickery because it wasn't stable because they were all hand drawing it or whatever.
Yeah, this is definitely a highlight of the movie.
Yeah, they went through a lot of effort to make this grid look exactly like the first movie. And, he pops in and it's the same music played. I think Wendy Carlos, the composer on the first Tron movie, got a credit for her music again in this one, which was nice. And they're playing the original Tron theme, and, Ares is looking around, and a bit from the first movie comes and, says yes and no because he's a bit. And Ares gets on a light cycle to follow the bit, and it's a light cycle from the first movie, even like how it like materializes from the stick. So Ares is now in the 1980s Flynn grid. Athena wakes up again in Dillinger's grid, and then just like fully goes to the max. She materializes herself into the Dillinger laboratory, and she starts printing out a recognizer ship from Tron and Tron Legacy, the thing that looks like a paper clip.
I think you mean a staple.
Oh, yeah.
It does not look like a paper clip.
It's Clippy. Hi, I'm here to help. This is the second time that this guy's program has taken over the computer and printed itself, because Ares did it first to free Eve and run away, and now Athena's doing it, and it's like, why are they allowed to do this? Why did you give them that access?
They clearly do not have McAfee antivirus installed.
That's
no
why,
security on this thing.
Well, Tron isn't here, and he was the security program. He was like the Windows Defender, so that's why they can do it.
I see.
They should have had Windows Defender show up in one of these movies.
So Athena is pumping up the 3D printer to the max, and Dillinger is really worried.
This is obviously a clue callback, because she's like, I'm just following the directive, but that ends up making her turn against her creator.
Yeah, again, like, I think there wasn't enough setup for really anyone's motivations in this movie. Because we see Eve is trying to find the code and do all this, not just because like it could benefit the world, but more so as like respect for her sister who died trying to do this. So she feels compelled to finish that task. But we only see little snippets of that. And then with Ares' character, he's very like, he's on a like voyage of self-discovery or whatever, or trying to go beyond his original programming. But Jared Leto can't act, so that's really limiting how much he's selling me on that. And Athena is doing the like following orders to the letter, and to the point of betraying everyone around her. But there's also, again, there's like not enough time to like really establish all of this, I don't think.
Athena, the one thing I will say for the Athena character is they are like pretty intimidating.
Yeah. The actor who played her did a great job. So like in this scene where Athena is making the ship and printing more soldiers and stuff, this is when Dillinger's mom comes back while like everything's exploding and Dillinger's freaking out, and she's like, I'm taking control of the company, the board agreed, you're out. And Athena sees her as a threat to her mission, and she kills her. And she also briefly threatens to kill Dillinger.
I wrote lol Lamau in the notes, because of course that was going to happen.
Yeah. And then Athena looks at Dillinger for a second, and there's a bit where I think they say like,
and any other threats, and then looks at him.
Yeah.
He's looking back, and then he puts his eyes down as a way to say, no, I'm not a threat.
Athena was like doing the old thing you do with dogs, stare at them, and if they look away, then you're the alpha.
Yeah. And also this is the point where like Dillinger is now realizing he's messed up, and he's trying to log back into the computers to, I don't know what you do at this point. I know he like tries to shut down Athena remotely, but like he's like fully locked out of everything, so she can just do whatever now, I guess.
This is the point where should have been like, what am I going to do? Oh, got this old program called Tron. And then all of a sudden Tron comes in and has a showdown with Athena.
That would have been cool.
If they'd done that, we would have been saying that was terrible fan service.
No, I wouldn't have.
It's a horribly de-aged Alan.
Oh no.
and then we're like, oh, the de-aging. It's a callback to Legacy. Yes.
It's bad on purpose.
Disney wins again. No, I did I did get really excited in the like very first view of this movie when they're doing the lore dump and they show again a young Kevin Flynn, and I'm like, yes, it's de-aged Jeff Bridges back again. But they only show him for like 8 seconds, so kind of disappointing.
Yeah. And he doesn't look bad when it's like on a CRT screen. Like they can get away with it.
They should have just released Tron Legacy on VHS.
While we are on the topic of effects and CGI and whatnot, the recognizer I thought looked incredibly good moving around in the city. Like I really didn't think it looked fake. I thought they did a really good job on that. And I guess like the light bikes in the city too, like not being in the digital environment, they still looked like pretty real.
Yeah, the only bit I remember watching where I thought the movie looked bad was that fight on the incom grid that was like in the daytime. Maybe because there wasn't like enough shadows or something. It just looked not that good. And then there was a bit when they're at their research base printing the orange tree, and I'm pretty sure everyone there was on a green screen, and it didn't look very good. But other than that, like it all looked fine. The complaints with the visuals for me are just,
Stylistic.
yeah, like the city environment not being as interesting as the grid, just in general. But like, if that's the idea, then the execution was fine, I think. And they also made the recognizer huge. Like
Yeah.
in Tron Legacy, it's more just like helicopter size, or like a little bit bigger than helicopter. It's not that big.
Well,
It's big but not huge.
yeah, I guess I'm not really clear on how big they are because they do have quite a few people in it in Legacy.
But in this movie, it's like the size of
The
a
size of a
20,
skyscraper.
yeah, like a 20-story building tall.
Which I'm thinking now, did they address how that materialized? Because the big laser 3D printer is not the size of a skyscraper. It's in a big hangar, but it's not that
Well,
big.
they showed it started printing, so like that is just that is the implication that that printer made it.
There was a peak in that printing part where it showed parts being like pushed out of the way for new ones. So I think
Okay.
they generated in parts, and then someone very quickly put it together
They
like a
had to
Lego
glue it
set.
together.
Yeah.
Athena is like breaking the supports off and like putting super glue on it.
You've only got 19 minutes. Hurry up.
It's not fitting. I gotta reprint this part.
It warped. Got unstuck.
I used the wrong fill. Yeah, so I think it was made in parts, but a very quick assembly on that. The movie goes back to Ares on the Flynn grid, and he shows up at, I guess, Flynn's home. It's set
It's
up.
Flynn's Tron Legacy home, which
Yeah.
is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's set up like his house in the mountains in Legacy, where he's got like a piano and like other classical furniture, but it's in the original Tron style.
So like like I was wondering, so like is that what the legacy grid start, like this is a backup of the original grid, but then did the legacy grid that we saw, did that start as that and then like slowly over time become what we saw in legacy, like it got more detailed and advanced, and so like that was just his house?
The way I understood the Legacy grid was that it was the original because no one was doing any development. So in Legacy, it's a little weird that it's so much higher fidelity because it's still on an Apple III or whatever.
That's true.
I think that is correct, because the grid we see in Tron Legacy is like Flynn's home server grid. It's the separate one that's in the basement under his arcade. And the one in Tron is the one on like Encom's computers. Like those are two separate systems. So it would make sense if this is like version 1 of Flynn's grid, and then that turns into the one in Tron Legacy. I don't know if they thought about it that much, but
I don't think they did.
regardless, it is there. And Ares meets Flynn, who is still played by Jeff Bridges. I believe he's the only person coming back from Tron Legacy, and definitely the only one coming back from Tron. He meets Ares, and it's not clear to me, like,
He's a ghost.
the entire scene. Yeah, he's a ghost. They explain that Flynn is, I wrote down, a reflection of your presence to Ares.
That I also had that verse for the next part, wondering that doesn't make sense there. He's a ghost, but also Ares implies that he knows that he shouldn't be there, asking, like, why are you here?
I just watched iRobot the other day, and it reminds me of the like scientist guy who is like a projection that Will Smith talks to, and like he can only answer things if it's like a specific question. Like he doesn't have all the answers. Like that was kind of the vibe I was getting from Jeff Bridges in this. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but like sometimes he didn't have like an answer, or like it was something he couldn't say, right?
The whole conversation between him and Ares was weird. I
Yeah.
I think the purpose of it was Flynn just trying to figure
To
out
have Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
To have Jeff
for
Bridges
sure.
there, number one. Number two was Flynn sort of testing Ares to find out like is he worthy of going beyond the grid and living essentially as a person.
Which is very weird.
Sort of like quizzing him, and there was like a weird comment about Flynn saying like, "Oh, kids these days don't listen to real music or whatever."
I'm not sure anyone born in this century knows who Mozart is, which is such a weird line because that's no.
But yeah, we're going to talk about Depeche Mode the whole movie.
Yeah, and also when when Flynn says that, is he talking about the 20th century or the 21st? Because we're on the 80s grid. So which century are we on? And either century, that's a weird thing to say.
This ghost of Flynn, who is a reflection of Ares' presence, does know where the permanence code is and gives it to Ares, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, it makes sense with Joe's interpretation of like this is a limited
if he's just like a
mirror of Flynn.
A presence of this server, he would know everything that's on the server.
But then him saying he's a reflection of Ares' presence is just
it doesn't really make sense. We need like an alarm that goes off whenever we start thinking about it too deeply. we need to stop.
Well, we're thinking about it too deeply because like there in all of these cases there's such a simple solution to all of these. And it's like, just make Flynn the master control program of this grid. Make him Clue. Like, this is the version of Clue from that grid. You can be Jeff Bridges.
This was their chance to fix the bad effects of the first movie. They could have did Clue again, but actually like look good.
Ares could have popped in and met Clue, and Clue's like, yeah.
So Ares gets the permanence code from Flynn, and there's this magical backdoor in Flynn's grid that goes to the original laser in the basement of his arcade building that somehow has never been sold or repurposed. So somehow Ares gets from one offline Apple III to another offline Apple III.
Yes.
And gets to be undigitized in the basement of the arcade.
Yeah, this is the only part of the movie. Well, not the only part, but this is the part of the movie where I did the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing thing of like, oh, it's the
laser.
It's the lab from Tron Legacy. Ooh. So I appreciate that. That's like the most service that Tron Legacy gets in this movie is they show that basement, and that's it. So yeah, so Ares materializes, and then there's the final confrontation between Athena and the other program she printed out, and Eve, and like the recognizers flying through the city and deploying these drones that are out to search for Eve, and that all looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Eve saw the recognizer coming and was like, guys, go use this laser Athena dropped that didn't get destroyed because it was already real. And use it to hack into the Dillinger grid and shut everything down. I'm gonna run out of the building and run on foot away from this giant machine.
What are you gonna do, Eve? I'm gonna run.
With my razor laptop.
She gets captured because the little drones with their light trails spin a circle around her, like a spiral of a wall that isn't flush at all. She could have just climbed up it.
There's also a cool Athena drives like this, not really a tank, but like a big like 6-wheel thing with like a laser uh bumper. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the vehicles in this movie are cool. Undeniably, no notes on those. Great job.
But yeah, Eva's captured in digital handcuffs, lying on the floor of the 6-wheel tank as Athena is driving somewhere down the road. And
Those handcuffs would disappear in 29 minutes, right?
yeah, they did at the
Oh,
end of the
okay.
movie. They're driving, and then you see Eve look up like, oh, she sees someone she recognizes, and Athena does the same thing. And Ares is standing at least half a mile away in front of them. There's no way they saw him or even knew who he was. And they're like, oh, it's Ares. And that was just so weird to me.
In this bit, there's also a brief air battle between Athena's guards on sort of the light jets from Legacy and these F-35 military planes that are coming
Oh
in.
yeah.
And that was pretty neat. Again, I wish it was longer because it does not hold a candle to the big like dogfighting sky battle at the end of Tron Legacy. It's just for a minute. But there is a interesting note here where the F-35 pilots are Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. That's their cameo.
Oh, nice.
Wow. And when they get their wings cut off and explode, they just say punching out very calmly.
Just another day. And yeah, during this whole like chase battle stuff, it occasionally cuts to the Incom guy AJ hacking into Dillinger's servers because they all know that Athena can just, print herself out again after the 29 minutes if the servers are still running. So they're trying to shut them down. I'm also not clear about why at this point Dillinger doesn't just unplug the computers. I don't
I don't
know
think
if
can?
I mean he's physically there. You can unplug
But
unless they're locked or
There's
something.
got to be
There-
more than one
there-
plug, but like
there's-
powering this thing.
As we know, all of them are connected because that's what
Yeah.
happened at Encom, and I highly doubt those lasers are running off 110 volts.
I don't know. I was looking for a better explanation there than the only way to stop Athena was like hacking
Through software.
Yeah, it's like I think you can unplug something somewhere. And like I know Dillinger had all of his access cut off and that's why like he couldn't do shutdown commands, but like he's physically in the building still. There's got to be a circuit breaker or something he can do. And we just don't see that.
Yeah, I think that's another issue with the anthropomorphic metaphor. There's not really a way to address that.
Kids these days.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to turn off the computer. Yeah.
We're back to Ares walking into the middle of the road, and
And his suit turns white.
It's not lit up at first, and then it turns white, and it's like, oh, he's good now because it's white.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of a battle, which is like the only time there's really a fight that doesn't end with "ooh, I got away."
So, actually, it is kind of like, ooh, they got away, because Athena has won against Ares, and she's about to cut off his head or something. And then she stops because that's when they get the grid. That's when they get the Dillinger grid offline and all the drones start falling out of the sky.
Yeah, so she can't come back at that point.
And so it's another just like, oh, magical distraction for her. And then that's when Eve returns Ares' disc so that he can actually fight and defeat her. So it is another one where it's like, oh, I'm cornered. Oh well, some external force happened to do this at the right time. And Athena keeps getting distracted.
Yeah. So the main battle is over. it cuts back to Dillinger at his laboratory, and the cops are here. They're outside the building, and he digitizes himself. He reverses the laser. So now he's in the grid, and
we need a fourth Tron movie.
It would be funny if it's just like an completely empty grid because everything is deleted, and he's like, "Shit."
It's the Simpsons grid.
it's this big white room, featureless.
It's like when
void.
Squidward gets sent to the void or whatever.
Yeah, in the time machine. Yeah,
alone.
Yeah, that would have been good. And then there's like an epilogue at the end of the movie. They show the permanence code being used for growing crops and making medicine and other things like that.
Everybody has to eat oranges now.
Yeah, it only makes
they can only
oranges.
make oranges.
Mom, I'm so sick of oranges. That's all we have.
I mean, the ending shot is Eve zooming out of the postcard from Ares and walking into a grove on top of the building of oranges.
That's true.
So, for all we know, it can only grow
We're
orange
so
trees.
good at making orange trees now.
No one's gonna have scurvy.
We're reshaping the human condition by making only oranges.
Tropicana is out of business.
But yeah, Eve's at the top of the building, and Seth gives her a postcard, and it's like, "You got a postcard." I don't know. I don't know what it says. I didn't read it, and it's from Ares, who is in France or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got there. How did he get a passport?
He just walked.
At the end of the fight, as like the police and ambulances are arriving, and he and Eve are ducked behind a car, Eve walks away from him into the middle of the road, and he disappears. So it's not like she gave him a passport.
I also don't think it works like that, Zach. You can't just give someone a passport.
If you're a billionaire, you could arrange it.
Just right on the spot. Oh, here's this passport for you I have.
Or if they had kept in contact and then he had left later, they definitely could have gotten him a passport, but on his own, I don't get it.
Yeah, so the postcard is from Ares, who says he's looking for Cora and Sam from Tron Legacy, and it shows their pictures, but we don't actually see them. So it's setting up a sequel where Ares finds Flynn and Cora, and there maybe be more from Tron Legacy that shows up. And then the very last thing in the epilogue we see is Dillinger materializing in his grid, and it's like all wrecked, all destroyed and on fire and stuff. And he's very mad, and he picks up the identity disc behind him, and that is the disc that belonged to Sark from the first Tron movie. And there's like a little echo of him talking, and he picks up, and it starts transforming him into Sark. We see a little bit of like his like helmet thing.
I didn't see this.
And then the movie ends.
I think it was a post-credit scene. I couldn't find it by seeking.
The back-to-back of only acknowledging Tron Legacy really at the very end, and then setting up more sequel bait with Sark, was like the point where I was like, okay, I think it's good this movie's over, because I'm kind of frustrated at this point. Because they're setting stuff up like this is the MCU, or like something that's guaranteed to have 5 more movies. And we all know we're not getting another Tron movie anytime soon. Absolutely.
Instead of
not.
a multiverse, it's multi-servers.
We'll find out what happens in another 15 years, maybe.
So I have a universe question. Quora was a program?
Yeah. She was one of those.
She was the ISO. She was an ISO, which were the indigenous population of Flynn's grid.
A program that wasn't created by a user. It just like became a thing.
Yeah. So was the permanence code a thing in Legacy?
No. That's another
so
thing.
So why is she permanent?
I don't know.
Maybe because she's an ISO, I guess, is probably what the bullshit excuse would be.
That would be...
So she created permanence code by evolution that she wouldn't need?
That would be my guess, is that because, yeah, like, she and the other ISOs were fully, like, an organic creation of the grid. So, and it's implied in Tron Legacy that they are far more complex than a program. So maybe they don't need it because they're quite literally built different.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the physical things they spawn in that aren't people also aren't programs.
The explanation is because that's how it is.
It just do be that way.
It is that way because it's that way.
I was thinking that was weird when they showed like the code snippet of the permanence code or whatever, and it was a double helix, and that's also what they use to show off, to like indicate that certain programs were ISOs in Legacy. I don't think that connection was intentional. I think that they were just doing that.
One funny Legacy thing that I saw on Reddit, when Jared Leto is looking at that newspaper that has like the picture of Sam Flynn and Cora, that picture somebody made, like it's a edit of like a set photo of them two made to look like they're in Flynn's arcade. Like someone made that on DeviantArt, and that's what they used. That they put in the movie. There's this random photo that someone made on the internet.
I hope they paid.
The person who made it posted in the Tron subreddit, and they were like, "I made that image."
Okay, so they didn't pay for it.
No.
That's so funny.
What would we all rate this out of 5? Because I gave it 2.5.
That seems fair. I didn't, even with all my nitpicks, I didn't dislike it. The action scenes were good.
If I was less invested in Tron, I would say probably 3. Because, like, again, it is fine. Most of it's fine. Everyone except Jared Leto is doing good. The music's good. It looks cool at parts. But because it's doing, like, a very tired and outdone version of what the other movies did in terms of everything else, I think maybe, like, a 2. So, Tron Ares made $142 million in theaters on a budget of 180 to 220 million. So
that's good.
Yeah, it was objectively a box office bomb, and it earned a 48 out of 100 on Metacritic out of 49 critic reviews, compared to 63 out of 100 for Tron Legacy.
What were Tron Legacy's financials? Do you have those?
I believe it made money. It just didn't make a lot. Yeah. Okay. No, it did. So Tron Legacy had a budget of 170 million, and box office was 409 million. So that's a lot better.
A lot better.
In October 2025, The Hollywood Reporter said Disney is unlikely to make another Tron movie after Ares flopped, citing unnamed sources. My personal opinion is that I don't think Disney is done with Tron, because it's always been like this weird like hibernation state intellectual property for them. Like they'll do games occasionally, and now there are 2 Disney theme parks that have Tron roller coasters. So I don't think they're done with it. I think they're probably done with making a movie for a long time again. I think it's going to be another 10, 15, 20 years until they try this again.
I could see it's just going to be a thing that they do like every 10, 15 years.
It's like the 17-year cicadas.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's time for Tron again.
Jeff Bridges comes out making a really weird noise every so often.
Yeah.
I hear the yes from the trees.
Is this this has got to be up there as one of the slowest trilogies, right? Like how much time has passed since the first Tron till now?
44 years.
44 years. It's a pretty slow trilogy.
Yeah, Tron was 1982. The kind of last update I have here is on February 27th of 2026. Nine Inch Nails released the Tron Ares Divergence album, which has a bunch of additional and unused music from the film, and then a lot of remixes by other artists. I've not listened to much of it, but it's pretty good. So even if you don't care about the movie, or the movie you were disappointed by the movie, still got some decent music out of it, and now there's another album. So you can enjoy that too.
I will.
Do y'all have anything you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
No.
Not really. I have a food blog, but I have not had time to write on it lately. It's called thedigestible.com, but you could also just follow me on Blue Sky.
Excellent. And Tech Tales is at techtalesshow.com on Blue Sky and at techtales@mas.to on Mastodon. The links for those are in the show notes. Also in the show notes are the sources and the link to watch the movie and links to support the show if you want to do that. And thank you for listening, and we'll be back in your podcast feed soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Uh,